Well, welcome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
thanks for
having
coming,
me.
man. No, I'd appreciate it taking the time out of your day to do this for us. And you and I met a few months ago,
hmm
and I thought this would be a great opportunity. But before we get into what you're doing now and all the real estate that you're doing, let's rewind. What were you doing before you even got into real estate?
Yeah, so prior to real estate, I was doing phone sales. So I was in the staffing industry, right out of college with a marketing degree. So that,
Were you calling for like a staffing agency?
yeah.
Okay.
So I was calling managers, basically helping them get people, hire people. So we had people who were looking for jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd call managers and, place our people with them. Basically a matchmaker, if you will.
Oh, that's cool. A
But it was
professional matchmaker.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it was I learned a lot from that gig. It was I wouldn't trade it for the world. But
What's some of the skills that you learned there?
yeah, so I think first was adversity. It wasn't the culture wasn't me. There was a lot of things there that weren't me. There were some great people who really helped me on the intellectual side of sales. And the depth that's there. There's a big introspective side to selling. Um,
Was this your first sales job?
yes,
Okay.
officially, yeah.
What did you do before that?
I mean, I had
What's the
done.
unofficial?
Unofficial
Lemonade
would
stand?
be no, just through college. Yeah, lemonade stand. Just through college, doing sales programs and doing sales competitions, things like that.
Oh,
Yeah, stuff like that. That's what
that's
I
cool.
did. Yeah, marketing at in college.
Oh, that's
But
fun.
yeah, so that was fun. But this was
This was the first real deal.
yes,
Yeah.
and so I think face of adversity was like going through that was. That was probably the main thing I took away. And then when it comes to actual skills, it was all phone selling. And that was where I was like realized you only have like such a small percentage of like who you are. All you have is your voice and your tone.
That was true. Yeah.
And so that was so weird for me because it's like, all right, how do I connect with somebody, and have their best intention at heart and, communicate that,
Mm.
and
When I
so
only have my voice, tonality, inflection.
hmm
Yeah.
so that took me down the rabbit hole of, communication and all that's there. So anyways, I learned some great things there. Um,
Did they teach you some of those things, or did you then go outside and learn
a little of both.
yourself?
The,
Yeah.
the company itself, no, but there were some great people there that are, very successful in that business that really shared that's the intellectual depth side I talk
Mm.
about. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole you can go down. But yeah, they really helped me on that side of it. And then coming out of that, it really wasn't the place for me overall, or the career for me. But I wanted a place where I could help people. And I really felt like real estate provided the space for that, where your selling is serving. And I think real estate is the number one place where you have to be good at what you do. There's no room to not be the best. And I think that is opposed to, in a lot of other sales, it becomes more about, or can become about, sidestepping objections, um, as opposed to real estate, I think really tests you to your ability and what you have at heart.
That's a good point. I've never heard it phrased that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. So, how did you even get exposed to real estate? Like that was even an option
hmm
to leave one job to go to this?
Yeah, so I had a few people I was able to sit down with in my life, and just kind of tell them where I'm at. Like, hey, I love this, I don't love this. What would you do if you were me? If you could go back 40 years, what would you do?
Wow,
And,
that's good.
yeah, so I was blessed to have those people in my life who said, who were successful in other areas, but, they said, this is what I would do, or this is what you seem like you're fit for, this is what I'm hearing.
How'd you meet those people? Are they
Through
family or?
family, yeah,
Yeah.
some family connections, just,
Okay.
have a coffee.
Yeah, good. I think
But,
that's sometimes a missed thing that some people don't get is to have some sort of a mentor
mm-hmm,
in their life, and whether it's a parent, an uncle, a cousin,
mm-hmm,
or someone that's introduced through the family. Maybe it's a past coworker or a past boss.
yeah,
Maybe it's a past teacher. But to have that in your life, to be able to ask those questions,
mm-hmm,
it's something that I think some people have,
mm-hmm.
and then some people don't know what they're missing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think too, to that point, you don't know what you're missing. I think you have to, be able to reflect on what you know and what you don't know. And I think a lot of people feel like they always have to, know everything, know what they want to do, know what their goal is, their purpose is, but being able to say, okay, this is what I do know, and this is what I don't know, and get an honest opinion. What do you think? Am I crazy?
That's good.
So, yeah.
Okay, so was either of these mentors that you talked to in real estate, or they just said, hey, oh, okay.
I had one in real estate and one that wasn't successful in a few other places, but ended up investing in real estate later. So he was in real estate on the investor side of things.
Got it.
But no, not particular real estate agents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they thought you'd be a good fit.
Yeah. Yeah, they thought so, and I really like that real estate, like I said, provides the place to serve, and so that was kind of my big thing was being able to truly help people and get in a space where you can do that.
Now, did you just jump right in and say, hey, I'm going to take is it 90 hours?
96. Yeah.
96. I'm going to go take this 96 hours, or did you say, hey, let me go talk to some agents and see if this is even going to be a good fit?
No, I just said I'm doing it.
All right.
Yeah, I was like, all right, like this is what's in front of me, I sat on it for a long time. I shouldn't say a long time. I didn't know what I was going to do for a long time, So I really sat on it, even praying about it, like what is next, And at the end of the day, it was real estate in front of me, and it provided that space to walk forward. And it was like, all right, let's do this,
Nice.
Like,
okay.
Yeah, head first, eyes closed.
Did you do the fast pass one where you just go like consecutive days in a row?
No, I did it online.
Okay.
So
how long did it take for you to do the 96?
It took me, I don't know exactly. So the real estate exam you can do like pretty quick. But I love to go so deep, probably too deep on like education stuff. So and make it so applicable. And so it took me so much longer because I knew the right answers, but I would ask why to everything. So I deep dove almost everything.
It's
And
good quality.
It led to a
So
great
you did
score.
96 plus.
Yeah, I did more than 96, that's for sure. So I think it was taking me 2 hours for every hour of material, And I was fine with that because I was seriously learning. It led to great scores on the exam, but I think more so it led to, foundation of real estate knowledge of, again, how to help people, right?
100%.
Different ways of ownership, just the things a lot of younger real estate agents don't always understand because they just wanted the license, But yeah.
Now, did you hang your license right away with Group 4610?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you get connected with them?
So I had no idea who I was going to go with. There was, I really had no idea. So I found a couple teams, people reach out to you. So I'd interviewed a couple places. There was one team I was thinking about going with. And then I went to a virtual career expo. And everybody that came and presented, they were great. But none of it was for me. It just wasn't me one way or another.
You're talking virtual, you're on Zoom?
Yes.
And there's...
I was waiting for an in-person one, and they only do an in-person one once every few months. At the time, it was 2 months without one, and I was like, when is one coming? And there wasn't. So I was like, okay, virtual it is.
Okay.
So anyways, I there was 9 people that presented, and it just wasn't me, and I wanted to get off so bad, but I was like, it's wise to stay on till the end here, And I remember thinking, I was like, if I ever do one of these, if I'm ever in the position to present, I said, instead of just talking about what I think is important, I want to come in here and just say, what do you guys want to know? Because A, you're going to find out who's serious, who's ready.
Yeah.
And B, you're going to be more tailored fit, to your audience.
I like that.
And so, sure enough, I wanted to leave so bad. It was 3 hours, this thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm sitting there. So anyways, Joe comes on. And he goes, all right, I'm sure everyone's been blabbering. I want to know, what do you guys want to know? What do you questions you have? And I unmuted. I started firing off my questions,
Oh, good.
And I loved what he had to say. And I was like, all right, this is a team that's for real.
Sometimes it's meant to be that way, huh?
Yeah, so this is a team that's the structure I'm looking for, So anyways, long story short, I ended up, going over there, meeting them, all that, and then joining pretty much immediate.
Because I always think, usually in our business, typically you're either employed somewhere and then you become licensed there, versus you guys go and get your license and then you then have to go hang it somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Which that could be a thing in my business, but it's usually not. Usually you're already with a company and then you kind of get sponsored, get your license, and then you're still with that company.
Okay.
And then maybe you get recruited away, or maybe you look for another place. But typically you're at the company, then go get your license, versus you guys get your license and then virtual, lobbying for that. Or like I've taught at the Arizona School of Real Estate, and there's like stuff all up on the wall. People come in and pitch during their lunch sessions and things like that. So it's just different. So when you unmuted, when you were asking those questions, like what are the top 3 things that you were looking for in a brokerage?
So I'd say overall what I was looking for was structure. So I'm a very structured person, and overall what I was looking for was a team that provided structure. And
what's the structure around?
Structure around, that's a great question. I think it's more abstract than anything, but to put actual like tangibility to it, structure around how you bring somebody on. Why am I joining your team? You know what I mean? I don't want to say what am I getting out of it, but what's the trade-off here? You know, because when you're joining a team, there is some kind of trade-off. In some places, we're providing a desk and maybe some, website advice, and that's not structure to me. It was more so, how can I glean from your wisdom? Do you have a structure around that? Because if you don't, then... And I think to better explain it, I'll say my underlying philosophy is that, we all know motivation always fades. So I think the best thing you can do with motivation is apply discipline to say, hey, when I am unmotivated, what do I need to do to stay on this trajectory? I want to see that in a team. So, hey, you guys will be super excited to have me the first couple of weeks. You might say, hey, here's how you do this, here's how you do that. But 6 months down the road, 3 months down the road, what does it look like? You know what I mean? Are we talking still? What's there? Because if you don't have a structure in place, that's going to fade, and that's what I was looking for.
That structure applies to various aspects of it.
Yeah. So as you know, with Group 4610, working with Place and, all of that, they walked me through. We have this program. This is how we do things. I was like, all right, this is my place.
It's got my structure.
Yeah.
Cool. What else was important?
So, that was primarily. There were a lot of other things that fell into that, so under structure, kind of training, under structure, what general progression you have, because... the percentage of, like we all know, the percentage of real estate agents that fall out, that don't make it, which is more than expected. But for somebody that...
Isn't it like 83% in 2 years?
It's like, I want to say, don't quote me, I want to say it's like 80% the first year. And then like in the next 3 years or 5 years, it's like 80% of that. So,
wow.
Which, I mean, honestly makes sense. Like once you see the business.
Why do you think that is though?
I think honestly, lack of structure. Because I think it's very easy in life to get caught in progress where, you're doing the right things. So, of course, it's going to pay off, right? But that's not life. Like, you got to do the right things, and then you got to do them better than everyone else, And
over a long period of time.
Yeah. Consistency, right? And I think the only way to achieve consistency is through structure. Because if you don't have structure, I think you're basing everything off of emotion and motivations, and emotions.
Which is going to fleet.
Yes. Yeah. What do we know about emotions? They change, right? Like hourly or something, right?
Sometimes by the minute.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really what I was looking for there. But yeah, I really think that's what's at the core of people not making it. But I was looking for, with Group 4610, like, what does it look like? What does your progression look like when somebody is motivated? For the people that do stick around and do make it, what do those people's progression look like? What do they do,
Well, they got some long time agents on their team, so you could kind of see the progression,
and all at different stages, So that was really awesome to be able to see and see that they had a grasp on it. They knew the answers to my questions, So that was like, all right, like you guys are legit. So.
Yeah, rather than like kicking the can, like, yeah, we'll figure that out later.
Exactly. Yeah. I had a lot of other teams I was interviewing with, like, that's a great question. I was like, well, no problem not knowing, but you probably don't have the structure I'm looking for if you can't.
Well, it's a problem in our industry too, and on the mortgage side, because you can get licensed and then you become a loan officer and hang your license somewhere and you have no plan. You're given no structure. The school, and I believe it's similar to real estate, there's not like the street smarts of like how to get a lead, how to get a client, how to do a buyer consult, how to do a listing presentation. Like that's not part of the school. The school's like, here's a deed, here's this, here's parcel number, and the like for us it's the compliance stuff. There's not a lot about the sales side of it, of how do I even get a client in the door, right? And that's missing. And so that's where I see new agents have a higher success rate when they're getting onto a team or in an environment, even if it's at a brokerage as a solo agent, but somehow that exchange of, hey, I'll come in at 80%, 90%, whatever the split is, but I need that other 10 or 20% that I'm giving up. I need the training, and I need to know, how do I even get my first client? But what's nice about a team is I can get there to do scripts practice. I can go on a listing appointment with them. I can shadow them and get mentored by them, because there's a dual vested interest.
Exactly. And that's the other thing too. The thing I was looking for was, like, I could see on the front end that, like, when you start in real estate, you have all this energy to run. But as an independent agent or on a not so great team, you bring all that energy and then you have nowhere to run. It's like, exactly, lead generation.
I can't direct it anywhere.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. So, like, okay, like, you get there and you're finally ready and you're like, okay, go. And it's like, well, where? Go,
Yeah.
So it was like the team provides, especially a team where you're around great people, and around great minds and successful minds. It's like, well, this is where you should run, And
Here's
then
the
you can
playbook.
actually, right, exactly.
Like we were just talking
There's
about.
a playbook. Exactly. Yeah. No, you got it with that.
What's your favorite aspect of the business right now?
Like, overall, or you're saying right now in what I'm doing?
Right now in what you're doing.
Right now in what I'm doing, I'd say the more creative answer I have, I mentioned it earlier, you'll find this is what at the heart of everything I do. But, to serve people. I really like that it provides that space to be able to help people. Buying a home, selling a home, those are things people don't know how to do. And those are things that are extremely complex, and
they're really expensive to make a mistake on.
They are. And to make a mistake on who you work with as well, right? So, I mean, I think that's my favorite thing right now. It's like watching our team go to bat for clients. I had a lady I was helping out, and she had just asked me a couple questions. She was working with a friend of hers who was a realtor. She was buying her second home out here in Arizona. She's working with a friend. I said, all right, well, if you need anything, let me know. And she called me back. I was telling her the power of having a team like us behind you. You should see us go to bat for clients. And she called me back essentially wishing she had that. She said, we're flying back to wherever she's from. It was Alberta. She said, we're flying back to Alberta this week. The negotiations essentially fell apart. We didn't have anyone essentially going to bat for us. So anyways, I love that we can step in there and do that for people, when they need it most. That's my favorite part of the business.
Well, what's nice about, again, going back to a team concept and even a brokerage concept, it's like there's like thousands of transactions that have transpired with thousands of different examples of scenarios to help and have that confidence to overcome whatever happens, whatever she's going through in regards to negotiation. How do you get creative to make a deal happen? Like, that's hard to do when I just came out of school, loans, mortgage, real estate. Like, I've only done 3 or 4 transactions. Like, I don't have the experience in me, but I can lean on people that have.
Yes.
Say, hey, man, have you run across this? Hey, any solutions for this? Right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing, too. I mean, that you don't see with great teams and often even great independent agents is because you have a side of it that's covering the legal and the contract and the negotiation side of it. It's like, because they're only doing that, they've closed like thousands of transactions where other people have closed hundreds, and that experience is huge. There's not too many people that can say there's not much they haven't seen in real estate,
right.
Even if you have closed a few hundred deals, you know, and you are an incredible agent, Now,
I know right now you've been hitting the phones a lot.
Yeah.
What does a typical day look like for you in that, during the week, Monday through Friday?
Yeah. Typical day is starting with lead generation, so people who are, raising their hand in one way or another on my website, looking for help buying in the area or selling in the area.
What percentage do you think are buyer versus seller opportunities for you?
Majority buyer. I mean, just from the people I'm calling, from the intent that they're giving off, I'd probably say 70%,
Okay.
are buyers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say that's about right, 70%.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's what I'm focused on. That's kind of my baseline through the day, is to get through that. And
So how many calls do you make during the day?
I make 150 generally.
How long does that take? That's a lot.
It depends, because you get in great conversations.
True.
Where you're helping people. And then other times,
Get a lot of voicemails.
You get a lot of voicemails. And the other part of that is there's appointments mixed in there, right? The way we're able to help people so well is what I say is we don't miss. And the way we don't miss is we're going to do it this way. We're going to walk you through our process, and we're going to sit down, and we're going to make sure that we hear you and we see you and what you're doing. Because buying a home isn't like buying a car. You know what I mean? This is your life you're talking about. This is your lifestyle you're talking about. So there's a lot that goes around it. So I want to hear that, so that I can help you the best way I can. And then on our side, we're going to make sure you understand how we operate. And so anyways, I say that because those appointments are mixed in,
Right.
And so when I'm really helping people, I'm sitting down face to face. And then when I'm not, I'm calling people and saying, hey, can I help you? Let's sit down face to face.
Now, what portion of your day, so you dial 150-ish people, what's the just range? What's the least and the most time that takes?
I mean, anywhere from fastest, I'm probably done by noon.
Okay.
With dialing the phone. Longest sometimes you come home at 5, and start calling people again. And you're done at 6.
Is that because you got
7.
interruptions during the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you had appointments, because you were trying to outreach to people on social media, because you were educating yourself on whatever it is, contracts, buy broker agreements, all that.
How much of your day is still spent training?
The official training we do, not a ton. So I shouldn't phrase it like that. The training varies. Overall training is we have our place training where you're walking through the actual modules.
Yep.
And then we also go over scripts with each other, make sure we know, which is so important because it's this is what I learned working at the previous job I was talking about, is you always have good intentions, and even when you can't help somebody over the phone, you have to know how to communicate that.
Right.
And you have to know how to get your intention, through the phone, and that's so much easier said than done. So we practice that. You know what I mean? When you have someone you can help, how are you communicating that? So going through that, I would consider that training as well.
For sure.
And then the other thing I do is going through, purchase agreements, like I said, buyer broker agreements, listing agreements, making sure I'm educated on them, so I can leverage that. And again,
help people. Blank ones? You're just reading them to go through?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Making sure I could, recite that thing blind. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So that you will be shocked at the number that we get on a deal where we're having to reach out and ask for stuff. That's not hey, is there an HOA addendum? Because it says there's an HOA, but there's no HOA addendum. Yeah. Just little stuff where I'm it's a legally binding contract. Yeah, so I appreciate the fact that you do that. It's something that we do here where we have actually one of our new guys that just started last Wednesday. This Wednesday, he goes through contract training because we need to learn the contracts as well, not as well as you guys need to, but we need to know what's kind of missing that we can reach out to the agent and say, hey, I'm looking for this, this, and this, or hey, I see it says counter 4, where's 2, 3, right? I'm missing some stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that the clients, it's stuff that happens behind the scenes that we don't tell the clients, but I'm man, it should be a little more professional than this.
Yeah.
It's a legally binding agreement.
I'm glad to hear you say that. A lot of people, it sounds bad, but a lot of people downplay it, or maybe not with their words, but with their actions,
Yes.
Everyone's focused on getting people on the phone. It's well, can you help them once you
There's
get them on the
phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, I appreciate that.
What other trainings do you guys do with your team?
So, we do, honestly, every morning turns into a training session, when we're having our team meetings in one way or another. That's the other thing. You can just lean on everybody's experience. And then on Tuesdays specifically, we have excellent people like you come in and educate us on, how to help people in various ways, whether that's Kevin and Fred, giving us their wisdom, whether that's you sharing with us what's new and how we can help people in that realm. But so I'd say every day, some way or another, turns into a training session. That's the best thing about being in the office and being around people.
Well, something I like that you guys do is you have the the buyer broker, and when you do your buyer consults, you and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're watching it on some sort of a portal, and then you practice it with somebody else at kind of role playing it, and then you actually have to test out of it to then be able to do it on an actual person.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. So
that's the first time I ever heard of that happening. Yeah. And it might happen, more often, but public facing, that I heard that from Kevin and Fred a long time ago. I was like, wow, that's pretty legit.
Well, and going back to the reason I chose the team, those are people who care about the people they're helping. right? They're not trying to send people out just to go get a deal, go get a deal, go get a deal. Like, hey, if you get a deal, are you going to know what you're doing? You know,
Right.
prove it. Prove that you can help them.
Yeah,
You know?
don't practice when the money counts.
Yes, exactly.
Right? I don't want to practice my scripts when I'm across from the buyer that I just finally, after 150 dials,
Yeah.
got someone to come into my office, look
Yeah.
at the little map on the wall, pick where they want to live,
Yeah.
start talking about them, and then fumbling over my words to where then they get discouraged.
Yeah.
And like we talked in the meeting that I was in, I said, man, how appreciative of the person they are that you helped back in 2019 2020 before the huge run up, that you were really good with your scripts, you educated them properly, you negotiated them a good deal on a house, they got in there, and now the house is like doubled.
Yeah.
Whereas if you weren't sharp on your craft, they got discouraged, they renewed their lease, then they got priced out of the market, and now 5 years later they're like, I'm still renting. Like that happened to some people, and that's pretty sad.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And even on that note, like, I even have the same perspective when it comes to working with other people. You know, one of the craziest things that's blown my mind in getting into this business is that people don't know what real estate agents do or the power in choosing one. You know, I learned that people choose a real estate agent based who they want to drive them around. You know, and I was like,
What do you mean?
Like go show them homes.
But I
had someone say to me,
person looks like they'd be good to drive me around.
Yeah, I asked someone if they were interviewing other agents or if they trusted me to help them purchase a home. You know, like, do you trust my ability? You know, and they said, well, are you going to drive me around? I said, is that what you're basing this on?
So did they ask you what kind of car you drove?
Yeah, so I was like, oh my gosh. Like, so people don't know the difference between like a part-time agent or a family friend agent who does this on the side.
Was that person qualified?
Yeah.
Because I'm wondering if they didn't have a car.
No, they had a car. They were qualified.
Are you okay?
They're good with money. They was a smart person I was talking to.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah. Anyways, I thought that was hilarious. But yeah. So anyways, like, people don't know the difference between a part-time agent, between an independent agent that just started, between
What's some questions that someone could ask to figure that out? Like, I'm the consumer and I call you. I'm like, do they just ask, are you a full-time agent? Like, is there a way to figure it out?
I mean, if I was on the other side of the table, I'd be asking about, first of all, the process you're running. What does this process look like? If you can't walk me through the home buying process, you haven't been through it enough times.
And very succinctly and professionally. I like that. That's a good question.
And
what
then
else?
the other side of that, too, is like the person who is taking care of the transaction, how much experience do they have? So if it's an independent agent, how many deals have you closed? If you're a team, how many deals has whether it's your operations team or your legal team, whatever, how many deals have they closed?
Do you bring that up before people ask you?
Yes, I always tell them,
like
because I think they should know the powerhouse of a resource that's behind them. Like, hey, if you're working with us, here's why you're working with us.
But if the agent didn't bring it up, for those of you listening, if the agent doesn't bring it up, then you should be asking the agent, hey, how many deals have you done? How many transactions? How many families have you helped in your career? That kind of thing. Okay.
I say a real estate transaction is turbulent by nature. And the only insurance to that is an experienced real estate team. It's like anything. Do you want a pilot that's on their first flight? Like, I don't think so.
Right. Even though they've had thousands of hours before getting the little certificate.
Right.
I'd really like the one that's had like a lot of gray hair.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, I really think because like things get ugly in a real estate transaction, and when you're the first time home buyer on the other side, it's like you want somebody who's done this 5,000 times stepping up and saying, no, you're not going to talk to our client like that. You're not going to take this away from them,
Yeah.
Whatever that is. That's the power that we provide,
Any other good qualifying questions that you think a consumer should be asking an agent or be on the lookout for?
I think it boils down to that.
Yeah.
There's other important questions I'm sure I could come up with, but I think at the real center of that is when things get ugly, are you going to be able to handle it?
I don't know how to ask the question, but maybe it's more for you as an agent to tell people, is I always like to use some sort of a statistic around how much you've negotiated above list or off list. So if you're a buyer's agent, you say, on average, my team and I have negotiated X number of thousands of dollars off of the sales, or this much in seller concessions. Hey, in the last 6 months, we've negotiated $150,000 combined in seller concessions. Like, that's a powerful statement to the buyer. Like, wow, okay. Or to the listing, like, hey, just so you know, we're at like X percentage over list in this price point. Or, hey, for our sellers, we've added an extra $250,000 over list price over the past X number of transactions, X number of time. It's a quantifiable number to somebody.
It really puts it in perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
It's something they understand.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I might incorporate that.
Why not?
Yeah.
Right? I always say overcome the objection before there's even an objection, but you're asking a question that might even know how to think about.
Yeah.
And then when they have a conversation with another agent that doesn't even come up, they're like,
And,
or if they ask the question, the agent's like, that's a good question. Like, okay, well, it lowers their level of certainty in that person.
Right. And speaks to experience.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
So other than, because I know you do a lot of the phone, you and I met at an open house, right? So you're doing some open houses.
Absolutely.
How many of those are you doing, say, a month?
I'm doing 2 a week generally.
Wow.
In an average week, I'm doing 2 a week. Sometimes I'll do Thursday through Saturday.
Okay.
And that's the benefit of having a great setup, working with the team, is you can work while you're there too, and just make it your office. So if it's a dead day or you did a bad job picking an open house, you're still working. It's not lost time.
Yeah. I mean, the store's open. It's just no one came in that day.
Exactly.
But you can still make a bunch of outbound
calls,
notes.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, you're not just sitting there waiting for someone to come to you.
Farm the neighborhood.
Yeah. So I try to do at least 2 a week. Minimum 1.
Okay.
Generally.
Are there any other... we call them pillars of a business, right? So you've got the online leads that you're calling through, got open houses. Are there any other pillars that you're working through?
I mean, people I know personally that I can help. You know?
Nice.
And just to full circle the conversation, that was the reason I wanted a solid team, was because when you're new in real estate, if you don't have a powerful backing, you're not really helping people. In fact, you might be hurting people by getting them to work with you.
That's a good point.
And so that was my big thing, was when I go to take care of my friends, my family, are they going to be taken care of? So anyways, just getting those conversations in, that is there any way I can help you? Whether or not you're buying or selling, can you leverage my knowledge, my experience, based on where I am, to be able to, further your dream, whatever that is. So I'd say those are the 3, lead generation, open houses, and then working through the people you care about.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, are you doing anything, do you get much off of social? Or is that still tied into Sphere?
Yeah, still tied into Sphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get much inquiries or people asking questions or raising their hand on social media yet?
Yeah, I mean, not a ton that I didn't know already, because I've done a good job of, reaching out to people and getting in touch with people. But it's a great place, I mean, just to have, reminder of what I can do,
Stay top of mind.
Exactly, stay top of mind, and then even educate on stuff that I wouldn't be able to explain myself, So I can send people your social media, Oh, did you see this program?
Oh, that's good.
So stuff like that, really helps.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that third-party validation.
Yes.
Someone else is saying that.
Exactly.
Well, and then also I think it's like your digital business card. So some people, even in that, the pond of buyers that you're calling through for internet, they get your voicemail, they get your email, they see your name, they look you up, they find you there. Wow, I like him. Oh, he's very articulate when he talks. Wow, he really wants to serve people and help people.
Yes.
Wow, he really knows what he's talking about. Oh, he's on a big team. They just start watching some of your stuff. Or and then I see that he shared that about a loan program or a market update or the new project coming to Tempe. And wow, okay, I think I'll call him back now.
Right.
Maybe they don't DM you. Maybe they just pick up the phone and call you. But it was through that credibility of that social media digital business card, right? Where it showed some credibility.
Yeah. Well, and it takes it from you start on the phone to where you have 2% of your personality, to you get them to social media. There's a large percentage of who you are.
Right.
It's you being personable. They get to, actually see who you are.
Yeah.
Okay, this wasn't just a random guy calling me,
Well, and, so 2 things. You had mentioned going back to the phones. You only have your voice and tonality and voice inflection where they get over to your social and now they can see you. Right? Now you have some sort of an impression that way as well. Right? So you get another one of their senses, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Plus, we've talked about it in your meetings, because I know you do this, where you shoot the video to the person you just left the voicemail to put a face to the name.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Luke. Just want to put a face to the name. Just left your voicemail. I'm not a robot. I'm not AI. I'm a real person. Call me back. I'm happy to help serve you in your real estate needs. That's like a money video.
It really is.
It's 10 seconds.
It really is.
And you can really level up your follow-up game.
And even, like you said, get through to that other person, I mean, if I get that video after someone just called me and left me a message, like, I'm 10 times more likely to get back to you.
Right? I
You
almost
know?
feel obligated.
Yeah, I know. You took a video for me. Like, I
Yeah.
could at least tell you, like, I don't want you wasting your time if I'm not interested, or, you know, if I am interested, I'm definitely going with the guy that sent me a video versus the guy who just left me a voicemail.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Cool. What's next for you? What do you think? What's the next couple of things that you're really focused on or working on right now?
I mean, I think social media, but more than that, I think that's just more of the avenue. I think it's just more of the same, you know. Like I said, like, to be in real estate, you got to be the best, or you're just gonna become a statistic, you know. And so it's making sure I'm doing that. Everyone can, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people can get into real estate, you know, can join a team, and then it comes down to a point where it's like every day, like, are you gonna do it?
I still have to do the work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
So
consistently in over a long period of time.
yes,
Like
a
one of my
long
coaches
period
says,
of time.
long obedience
Exactly.
in the same direction.
Exactly. I mean, there's nothing like consistency. So I mean, that's what's next is consistency, really.
What's some stuff that you're doing in like your off time for like recovery and I'm assuming you're not like going home and then going, let's hit the bar for 4 or 5 hours or
No,
let's go
that's not
clubbing
me.
on Saturday night. Like, so what are you doing in the off time that also helps kind of commingle the business?
Yeah. Okay, so first side note, I have been loving the weather lately. The sun, like, I have been loving it. Some people, I posted on my story, like, summer is so back. People were pissed. They were like, dude, like,
Too
soon.
early.
Yeah, too
Yeah.
soon. I was like, no, it's not. This is amazing. I love getting outside. Like, I'm not even a crazy, like, hiker or mountain biker or anything like that. I enjoy those things, but I just love being in the sun. So anyways, total side note. I love getting
No,
outside.
but that goes into exactly what we're saying. Right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm out, there's tons of studies about getting vitamin D, getting out the sun, getting natural light, helps you sleep better.
Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah.
So
What else?
That's what I'm doing. I'm getting outside. And that's the other thing I love about this business is, like, I can get on the phone and just start walking, you know?
Oh.
I'll be walking outside, like, when I'm, you know, walking through someone, what the home buying process looks like. I love doing that. But, you know, other than that, spending time with, you know, my wife, my family. My family's in town this week, so we got to go to, like, a baseball game, and it was
It's
awesome.
spring training time
Yes,
too.
and I loved it. We sat right in the sun. My family was like dying from the heat. I was like, this is awesome. So just stuff like that. Arizona's such a great place to be. I mean,
It is a great spot.
it's so pretty, and there's just so much stuff to do. So watching sports, getting outside, hanging out with family. I think that's really what boils down to outside of the office,
Cool.
for sure.
Do you do any like sports, exercise, any other stuff besides
Yeah.
the walking and stuff?
Well, yeah, hitting the gym, just like lifting generally. But
Okay.
then I got to get back to it. I play hockey. I love playing hockey.
Oh, okay.
So I played hockey in college.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I have a buddy out here that plays hockey as much as I want to. I just never get to it that much. So it's just like doing it.
Well, you know what's so two things. One, like I got away from golf because it
Mm-hmm.
took so much time away from my family. Then I was like, wait, why don't we turn this into a business thing and we'll do 9 holes while we're
Oh.
golfing,
That's cool.
right? So we play 9 holes and then I bring realtors and financial planner, chiropractor, insurance guy. Like we make it like just a thing. Like so a bunch of professionals play golf for 9 holes. Doesn't take a lot of time. It's like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. We hang out a little bit and then, all right, we'll see you in a couple weeks. And we do it right now. We do it in the afternoon because the weather's nice. When it gets a little warmer, we flip it to Friday mornings. And it's
Nice.
like you're teeing off at 6:30, 7 o'clock. You're in the office by 9:30 or 10 easily.
That's
and that's
awesome.
after like having a little breakfast after.
That's awesome.
So if there's a way to commingle it around, where
That's
you can
really smart.
have some professionals, some small business owners, some CPAs, financial planners, probate attorneys, whatever. Hey guys, want to get a little hockey pickup thing going on? We'll go to the ice den and things like that. That might be a thing.
That's really smart.
One of my realtors in North Carolina, he has a fitness group, and it's almost like his BNI group, but then they go like outdoor, like running through the woods. Then he sets up like a little obstacle, like CrossFit kind of thing, where they do like a little boot camp. He does it every Saturday,
Okay.
but it's a way for him, not the same people show up every time, but there's the regulars,
Yeah.
and then people bring friends and whatever. But it's a way where he can do a ton of business, but still doing something that he really likes to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a way to tie that in with the hockey, or maybe you just pick up golf because the weather's so much nicer out here.
Okay, I love golf too.
There
I
you
didn't
go.
mention it. I haven't been playing golf. Same thing. I just have
You
been
should
too
come
busy
to our
for it.
9-hole league.
Dude, I absolutely will.
Right, I'll
That'd be
invite you.
awesome,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll send you the next date.
Yeah.
But that's a way if you can, do life with business.
Yes.
So we put a pickleball court at my house,
Oh,
and
no
so
way.
now we're gonna have a pickleball league once the house gets completed. The outside's done, the inside's not. So once I'm back in the house, I'm gonna start a pickleball thing,
That's so cool.
and because it's fun. you know, but it's a fun way for me to network and do business with people that I like, but also just to hang out. It's not just, you know, just mortgage and real estate will always come up no matter what the conversation is that I'm in. But it's fun to be out there doing something a little different.
And that's the great thing about our business too, is like you're helping so many people from so many different walks of life that you can do stuff like that and it works, you know. If you're in a different industry, like that's networking is always a thing, but not so much to the level you're talking about, where your life actually commingles with your business all of the time. That's the other thing I love about this business, you know, is when you're helping everybody, you can help everybody everywhere, you know, as long as you know what you're doing. So yeah, I love that.
I just think something that might be good for you just long term is figuring out, you know, working with like the investors, but even like the young kids, because you're a young guy. How do I teach them to accumulate wealth through real estate? And that way, that one client of yours could end up being working to be 10, 12, 20 properties in their lifespan with you. And if you had 10 or 20 of them, that's 100 to 400 properties with just a small group of people. But imagine the lives that you would change if you served in that way. So rather than, oh, I helped 100 people buy one house, well, I helped 10 people buy 10 houses. Right? Absolutely. Same number of homes, but man, what a huge impact on those people. But especially now, like we just had a gentleman start here at our company, and he's like 23. I mean, dude, you're like, it's a game changer, because if you tap into this knowledge of how to accumulate wealth through real estate and really drive that home, you can start really making a lot of money through real estate. And you can pop up at 50 years old and be like, wow, I got 10 cash flowing properties, and I can choose to work every day now. And he's just walking to his mailbox every month going, mailbox money.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is I was just talking to an old coworker of mine, somebody who helped me out a lot, but we were talking about just how much information's out there nowadays. And because of that, those people like you're talking about who could become those young investors, or they're passionate to become investors one way or another. So they're going to find somebody to help them, you know, and whether that's somebody who knows what they're doing or not, I feel like that's our role too. You know, is like,
because there's a lot of misinformation out there.
So much. And especially just on social media. I mean, we were talking specifically about people wholesaling properties, you know, and just the reels you see on that. People, I'll teach you how to wholesale in 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Like, come on now. So anyways, it's like, that's the other service you provide is being able to not only do this, but do this the right way, you know, so you're going to end up, you know, glad that you started this journey and not regretting you started this journey. And that all depends on who they work with. You know, who do they follow? Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm glad you came in today, man.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate your time.
I really appreciate you having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.